Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Off the Ropes, Episode 6, WWE Draft and WWE Backlash Preview. Hello, everyone. I'm Bret Swinney. Alongside of me is KO Kyle Owens and Brandon Ogden. We have a special guest tonight. I feel like we have to outdo ourselves every time with a special guest, and I've got a good one tonight. It's Mr. Matt Diggs. Welcome, Matt.
Hello. I can cut more promos than a Bed Bath and Beyond going out of business sale, and I'm excited to be with the crew tonight.
Awesome. Well, you'll notice there's someone missing tonight. I don't know where he is. I think he got lost. I think he got lost in the draft. Maybe he got drafted the other night because he was live in Fort Worth for night 2 of the draft.
Who would he be drafted to, though, Raw or SmackDown?
He wants to go wherever Omos is. He told me.
Well, Omos is a free agent.
So maybe he's trying to work out a deal then. Maybe he's trying to get signed.
I think Jereme looks like a Raw person. I think he'd be a Raw guy.
Okay. Well, he may try to jump in and join us here tonight. He said he's gonna try. So we'll make sure we save that match for him. That's what Brandon's already assigned him that match to talk about. Before I get started, how's everyone's week going?
Good. You know, working, busy. I'm actually working right now. So if I look like I'm not paying attention, I'm listening, but I'm doing double duty. Kind of like Brandon was doing last stream. I'm doing double duty right now.
I'm all here this time. now we're at the point where I don't have to work on Tuesdays.
So. Matt looks the most comfortable though. He's in a recliner. I mean,
I am in a recliner. But I am disappointed this week. I was expecting a lot more from our WWE draft, the fireworks. But then again, I don't know what the WWE can do these days to get back there, because I find myself perpetually disappointed by them. Am I the only one here who just seems to always just be disappointed with the WWE product? You know, you get excited for WrestleMania, then you leave WrestleMania let down. Now I'm excited for the draft, and you know. It's like being a Cowboys fan here, just being down perpetually.
Well, be careful. Be tread thin water because you have an Eagles fan in the bottom right corner there. So be careful.
Oh, he's got his own issues to work out, I'm sure.
Well, first off, I want to say, and we'll talk about the draft first. We'll kind of go through each round, and we'll talk about what we thought. My thing overall, and this is what bugs me, and I don't know if you guys know this, but like, what's the randomness of random people coming out of the room making picks? Like, I miss the old days where, you had somebody running Raw, you running SmackDown, like there was some actual like meaning behind the picks. Like, is it just random folks? I think Teddy Long was on Raw. He was in the Raw draft room one night, and then he was on the SmackDown.
Player?
Yeah, that bothers me because in a draft, there should be like one team should be wanting to pick better than the other. So like should be some coherence there. Back when you had like, was it Bischoff and someone that did one year, he came out, but like it had some kind of meaning. Like right now you have one guy running both shows. It does on screen at least. And I miss that, like having some kind of meaning behind the picks.
Yeah. The only part I like this was they did it on Friday. Last night they didn't. But like when they brought Shawn Michaels out, it was funny to see like his NXT guys get drafted.
Yeah.
But they did on Friday. But last night he just announced like random people.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'm glad they didn't do this year was the first year they did it it was right when SmackDown on Fox had just started, and they had these like war room executives.
Oh, yeah.
That was just ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a little silly. But the on-screen person in charge of each show was cool because they legitimately could say, okay, this is my show. I feel like it's just okay. Let's put them in the randomizer, and you get these guys, and you get these guys.
That's what I was hoping they would do with the draft is say, hey, like Adam Pearce gets drafted like before, and like he's the executive for one of the other, and then they name someone like, hey, JBL or somebody's gonna be over SmackDown, or I thought that would have been cool, but they didn't go in that direction, and they still may, but I think they should have two different people in charge, like you said, now that they're splitting the brands. It shouldn't be Adam Pearce on both.
The very generic WWE executive. And this just gets into this whole idea that they continue to drop the ball. I know kayfabe and whatnot, but at the end of the day, or even something where you might have even had like a live streaming thing. They could have even given some logic to that, because you could kind of pick together some logic with the champions. Like, okay, they get this champion, so we got to pick this champion to kind of offset that champion, because we don't want to have a whole, we don't want to have a women's division void from our program, so we have to draft this way. But they didn't even refer to that. They didn't even have the commentators kind of play up any sort of the logic. It was just a basic randomizer, like you said, Brandon. And it takes the fun out of it when you can't have the drama of what's going to happen. And in two competitive people, I mean, this is a sport founded on competitiveness, and now we don't even have two figureheads fighting each other for picks or whatnot. It's just Adam Pearce, who he thinks, he wants. You said this, Brandon, like you thought it was kind of crazy a couple of years ago when they had the executives. At least to me, that made a little sense, because you had a little bit of controversy, like Fox wants to draw better than Peacock USA Network, but now it's nothing.
Yeah, it's just missing that Raw versus SmackDown feel. It's just like we're just gonna pick who we want to go on each show, and that's it. No, nothing really to it. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and go through the picks. We'll start with round one on night one. That was on SmackDown Friday night. Pretty obvious who the number one pick was going to be, I thought. I mean, I don't know if you guys probably agree. You picked the guy that's ran the show for the last almost 1,000 days, Roman Reigns. I thought it was interesting the way they drafted Reigns with Sikoa and Heyman without the Usos. That kind of left some things up in the air that they settled later. Then of course this right here, this next pick, it's such a cop out to me. They put Cody Rhodes on Raw. Now it looks like he's going for the big gold belt. It's looking like they're not going to put him over Reigns at this point now, because they're splitting them up. Don't know if I like the way that's going to turn out. And then, of course, Bianca Belair, women's Raw champion, goes to SmackDown. Now, I wish they'd have done something like you have to give the title up. I don't like them just, okay, I'm assuming this is going to happen. They're going to end up just switching them. Oh, let's just swap the belts. I think that's corny to me. Like, okay, if you move off the show, then you got to relinquish the belt or something. Because I kind of wish they'd have drafted both to one brand, and then maybe have them fight for that one brand's belt, and the other one's goes in maybe a four-way, fatal four-way, or some kind of special match to decide a new champion. I don't like this. Why even drafting? Why don't we just say, okay, these belts go here, these belts go here, and we just forget that part and move on to the rest of the draft? Then Raw, Becky Lynch. That's a good pick for Raw. Lynch is a star. That's round one, night one. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I came up with had like a 4 winners, 4 losers, and Cody and Bianca are both 2 of my winners. Cody, for the fact, like you said, he's going to get kind of the push to the title picture. But I could see them not getting the title maybe yet. They put him in that match, and something happens and he doesn't win it, and he still goes through that struggle for a little bit. They probably will. WWE probably just give it to him in May, but it would be interesting. They give him a little struggle for a little bit, and then he gets to go back through the Rumble next year. This time at like 2 or 3, wins it again and chooses Roman, and finally gets that match with Roman. But we'll see like you're probably right. But then Bianca, I really like her on SmackDown. Since Charlotte's there, we get to Bianca Charlotte. We haven't really gotten that, and if we did, it was a long time ago. And we've been seeing over and over. It'd be cool to see her and Charlotte, a little something there. So I really like that they split Rhea and Charlotte, and they put Bianca with Charlotte. I like that part.
Little dream booking. Maybe somebody from AEW comes out and reminds Cody that he can't compete for the world title since he lost that one match in AEW 3 years ago, where because they call it the world title over the new one, kind of a thing. You talked about how underwhelmed you were. They did this last time with when Becky Lynch and Charlotte, but they had to go and they had that very tense where they had to hand each other the belts, and one of them threw it on the ground, and it's all we've seen before. And now we're gonna have probably another tenth segment where you're going to have Bianca and Rhea do a belt handoff, and they'll probably say, "We'll see you again," kind of like they've been kind of teasing over the last couple of times. So again, nothing creative at all. Pointing out that you have Cody as your best, Raw face, so to speak. I mean, it makes sense, but there's so much they could have done. And again, there's those logical inconsistencies because Roman had 3 people drafted for him. At what point is there a better value in drafting groups as opposed to players? There's just no, split up Sokoa for that point. Roman by himself is good enough to be that number 1 pick, except now we have to have this whole entourage set up. It just completely devalues the value of a pick.
And does Paul Heyman, he's not a wrestler. Why does he need to be drafted?
Right.
I mean, that doesn't make sense. I mean, was there anybody else that was basically a manager that was drafted with anybody?
Well, they pictured Scarlett with Carrion, but they didn't announce her.
Yeah.
They didn't say with Scarlett. But yeah, no, it was just really weird there. Like, I mean, everybody was drafted as a group. Like, we had like 5 individuals drafted the whole 2 nights, maybe. Like, everything was. We just threw random group. I mean, we even drafted Rey Mysterio in a group. I know he's in one now, but it's just I don't know.
LWO, Brandon.
But just still do them separately. Come on, like they drafted everybody as a group. It was just.
Kyle, what are your thoughts?
I thought they had to go with Roman first because if you don't take him first, then why does he have 2 world championships? So he had to go first. I don't mind putting Cody on the other brand because I think they're keeping Cody and Roman apart so Cody can struggle and go through adversity and have to get to what he needs to get back to Roman. So I don't mind that part. The part that, and Matt, you alluded to it, but the part that blows my mind is why would you draft the Raw Women's Champion on SmackDown? Like that, logically, that just makes no sense. If you're going to do that, then why did you give her the title in the first place? Why didn't she lose it at WrestleMania? If you knew coming up you were going to switch brands,
they didn't know.
Give her the title?
They don't plan that far ahead.
Vince does not. You're correct. But that's my issue with it. Is logically it just doesn't make sense. And some of the draft was kind of predictable. I know we haven't got to it yet, but when they drafted Gunther over to Raw, well, then you knew Theory was going to SmackDown because you can't have the Intercontinental and the U.S. Championship on the same brand. So a lot of it was kind of predictable. But the first 4 picks I didn't mind, other than the fact that it just logically makes no sense to have Bianca go as your Raw Women's Champion over to SmackDown. And if you heard Corey Graves during Raw, he was even getting tangled up on how he was supposed to say it. Like, oh, they're going to be battling for the Raw Women's Championship at Backlash, but she's on SmackDown. Like, it makes no sense. There's so many logic gaps. So that's my problem with the draft.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of that. I wish they do something different. It seems like every year they do that where they flip the women's champions. Come on, get creative with it. Like, make them, if they get drafted off of the program they're the champion, they have to relinquish the belt.
Right.
It's just something else. Like, it's something that they have to go through. Something else in the storyline that they can do something with. To me, I mean, I know you don't want to give. Maybe it's Bianca that has to give it. She's had it for a while. Maybe make her go back to the line and struggle a little bit to have to regain a title on the new brand. I don't know. That makes too much sense, I guess. I don't know.
What would kind of be cool is that, right, like that night of the draft, do it for the women. Say, all right, the champions aren't predetermined. Like, what we're going to do is have a ladder match and have both belts up there. And so if you grab the SmackDown, you go to SmackDown. You grab the Raw, you go to Raw. Those are your champions, and then they draft the rest of the women. It's too late this time, but that would be fun next time.
Or that makes too much sense.
Oh yeah, because it'd be entertaining too. I mean,
yeah. Well, okay, let's go to round 2. Okay, SmackDown. I'm assuming the way they picked these, that since it was SmackDown hosting this night 1, they were the number 1 pick. They never said that or alluded to it, but then on Raw they flipped it. So I'm assuming that's why they got the first pick. They got the Street Profits. Now, this surprised me a little bit, guys. I thought that's another thing. There wasn't a whole lot of team splitting this time. Something that they used the draft to do. I thought Street Profits was one of those I thought could be split. They were drafted together over to SmackDown. Of course, you had to draft Imperium all together because it's a group. It's the theme of this draft was factions. because there was a lot of factions drafted together, which I don't say I'm okay with it, but I'm just glad they have some factions there for a while. WWE got to where there wasn't any factions, and I think the factions help build storylines. It's an easy way to kind of mismatch opponents and stuff, and they actually matter. Other than the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with Matt Riddle, I still don't understand that whole dynamic. I mean, it's funny, but like, why are they hanging out? Like, they're not together. It's just kind of a random one put together. Okay, Randy Orton's not here. Let's put Matt Riddle with these guys. The only thing that ties them together, I guess, is the bloodline took Matt Riddle out. So that makes some sense. But they have a bad habit of not making sense. They just throw 3 random people in a match and say, okay, you guys like each other tonight against this group. But I'm glad that, going back to it, I'm glad that they have that cohesion going on. So that's why I'm a little okay with them drafting the groups together. So a lot of times they'll have them together for 2 months and just split them up for no reason. So at least they're trying to work on that. I like Imperium going to Raw. I love Gunther. Oh, he's incredible. I still think at some point he puts somebody over and goes after one of the big belts, but they're going to continue to use him, I guess, right now and maybe get some new matchups on Raw. Edge to SmackDown with the next pick, and then Matt Riddle stays on Raw. Those are the 4 in that round, fellas. What do y'all think there?
I mean, nothing too surprising there. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they're just I guess the Edge flipping is the only main thing. But like you said, when we saw Imperium was going, then we were like, okay, well, just when's Austin Theory coming to SmackDown because we know what's happening. So.
And when you consider the fact that I guess they try to use that position to elevate the Street Profits, like they're going to say, okay, this is our second pick. We're going to have high expectations for the Street Profits, and then they just do a completely telegraphed match where on SmackDown they're now on there after being the second pick. Of course, they're going to win that 4-way, and they ended up winning that 4-way instead of being creative and using that as a chance to split them up or do something. And then of course when Bianca was drafted, you kind of know that they start keeping people together for marriage reasons. If Seth and Becky are going to stay on the same brand, obviously Bianca and Montez are going to stay on the same brand. So that kind of takes a little bit of the drama out as far as what's going to happen, and that used to be the great thing. I mean, you can just go back and remember that pop when John Cena got announced as the number 1 pick for Raw that one time. That meant something. It's like, okay, this is a big change. It's going to be a new attitude. It's going to be a new thing we're going to be trying. John Cena is coming over here, and there just wasn't that in the draft on this time. And they had the opportunity to do some things, some very creative things. If they truly wanted to throw it in a randomizer just to see what would come out of it, let's shake up announcing crews and let's shake up. And they ultimately did. It was announced afterward that the ring announcers have swapped. Mike Rome is now going to be on SmackDown, and Samantha Irvin's going to be on Monday Night Raw. But other than that, it's just there's no real logic to it.
And that was because Ricochet. I guess Ricochet is she dates the ring announcer.
Yeah.
So that's why they switched it. It wasn't because they needed to switch things up, man. It was just they had to. So don't get too ahead. They didn't think about that. It was just because they had to.
Fair enough there. And ultimately, you want to look at these things and maybe the Street Profits get a good push. Maybe we're going to start rebuilding the tag division. I think AEW has proven that you can have a viable tag division that's fun and people really care about watching. And the Usos have definitely elevated the match quality in the last few months. But again, it's just all been bloodline related. And now maybe we can get some true competition for who's going to be the next tag team. But of course, now they're going to have to decide, are we going to split those belts, or are we going to have the World Tag Team Championship in addition to the Undisputed Tag Team Championships? So definitely some storylines that they're going to have to fill in the gaps in the logic of.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Kyle, we went over round 2. If you want to jump in, basically Street Profits, SmackDown, Raw Imperium, SmackDown Edge, and Raw Riddle. Any thoughts on those?
First off, Matt, you similarly look like Matt Riddle, so I like it, bro. Anyway, I honestly thought one thing I was surprised we didn't see is any teams get split up during the tournament.
I just said that.
Oh, okay.
So
I
we're
really
good,
Kale's not
Rob.
listening.
We're on the same wavelength.
Kale's in a dark room somewhere.
I really thought that we were going to see some teams get split up. I'm glad that Street Profits didn't get split up. I think they've done everything they can do, but I like seeing them as a team. I don't think it's time to split them up yet. I think Edge going to SmackDown is cool. He hadn't been on SmackDown regularly in a long time, so I like seeing Edge go over there. Yeah, I like the second round. I didn't have any problem with the second round.
I like that Edge is going to get away from Judgment Day, which is good.
Yes. He needs to be far away from Finn Balor and his 14 staples.
Oh, all right. Anybody else got any thoughts on round 2? We'll go on round 3. All right. Round 3, we had SmackDown took Bobby Lashley. Raw took Drew McIntyre. SmackDown took the OC, which magically returns from a hiatus. I'm not sure. Yeah, they throw it up, Kyle. I'm not sure how long it's been since the OC has been on TV, but it's been a long time. I know AJ's been hurt, but they just took everybody off.
Make a big deal of it.
Yeah, they never said anything about it. Just kind of. And then Raw selected Indy Hartwell. I'm sorry. That was round 4. The Miz. I'm sorry.
Oh, well,
How can I forget the Miz?
he's not awesome.
We can all forget the Miz these days. He's very inconsequential at the end of the day.
He's basically a jobber at this point, right?
Yeah.
So, But what stuck out to me there, the OC obviously coming back. I think that was cool. Be interesting to see what they do. They kind of came out and kind of, made their presence pretty quickly. I mean, they came out and immediately made an impact. I'm interested to see where they go with their feud wise. Since there's so many cool groups now, they've got lots of things that they can do with them. So, be interesting. Maybe Judgment Day.
Well, they're on different.
Oh, they are different. They
OC Bloodline and AJ Roman.
Bloodline. Okay, I like that. They've got, but they do
AJ Roman, and then you can do the Gallows and them with the Usos.
Okay.
I don't know how much. They keep planting the seeds. I'm waiting to see. I don't know much longer the Usos are going to be in the Bloodline, but I thought they were going to pull the trigger last Friday.
I thought the draft
SmackDown had me locked in. Raw, on the other hand, didn't. But SmackDown, I was locked in the whole night. There was just some cool little things in that show, but with the draft and everything.
Well, I kind of thought the draft might split them up. I thought they might get.
Oh, I did too.
Like where Roman went to the draft people and told them Raw needs to take the Usos, and like that was going to split them up. I thought maybe.
Yeah, but that made too much sense.
Yeah, it did.
But I really thought Solo was coming out to do something, and then Riddle attacked him, so it kept it going a little bit. But I was, SmackDown had me locked in. I thought SmackDown was a really good show. Raw not so much.
Raw didn't keep me interested. SmackDown kept me interested. Raw felt like a Vince McMahon show that was thrown together last minute.
I fell asleep 4 times.
Oh man, yep. Okay, so since I jumped to it round 4 a while ago, we'll go to it. SmackDown took Damage Control. Raw took Shinsuke Nakamura. SmackDown took Alba Fire and Isla Dawn from NXT. I thought that was interesting. And then there's Raw took Indy Hartwell. Now, question, fellas. We just drafted NXT belts. Now, I know that's probably going on tonight. I didn't watch NXT. Some of you may have tuned in. I don't know. But do you think they end up losing those? Last time, I think they ended up losing the belts before they came up to the main roster. Does that happen? Or they keep competing?
Well, who they're facing tonight is also got drafted last night.
That's true. The tag belts is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So
and they also got drafted. Both teams got drafted. So I really don't, because this goes in effect next Monday.
Yes.
Right.
I don't know. It's always weird when they draft. They up like that when they have the belts. It's like they needed to relinquish the belt. I think before now you're going to have all the belts on main roster. Now you've got nothing on NXT. And then it's kind of predictable. Usually like 2 or 3 weeks later, they have a match against somebody at NXT, and they're going to lose because they're on the main roster.
Yeah, because there's a pay-per-view like that same weekend as there's like Night of Champions, there's AEW one on Sunday, and there's an NXT one that Sunday. So I'm sure they'll probably lose it then. But I don't think Indy has a match tonight.
I don't like that because it makes it too predictable.
Yeah.
And Indy's hurt right now, so that could be kind of a little bit of a wrench into these things. And if you remember a few years ago, and it was one of the more interesting storylines when they were introducing Kevin Owens to the main roster when he came out as the NXT champion and laid out John Cena. That kind of gave the NXT belt and him a lot more credibility. So if they're willing to fly him back and forth, maybe they can keep him for a couple more months and kind of have him work both shows, because and this has been kind of a problem with NXT, is that the NXT stars don't immediately get pushed. They don't immediately get a spotlight. They still have to really earn it. And, when you look at that women's division on both sides, where do you see them fitting in? I mean, they're like the 10th, 11th, 12th, placed girls on these rosters. They're not going to beat Charlotte Flair or Ronda Rousey or Shayna Baszler or any of those. They're not quite at that level. And really, because there's only 2 matches that the women might get on any given show, they're going to have a hard time making it on the show to show their talents.
Yeah. I thought they might try to put the way back together a little bit.
That's what I was thinking, but that Gargano went to Raw, so him and LeRae, so I was thinking that too, because they moved Theory over to SmackDown. So I was like, Theory and Indy were both on SmackDown, and I was like, okay, they'll.
No, Indy's on Raw. Indy's on Raw.
Yeah, the only person out of the way that's not.
I thought Indy was on SmackDown.
Austin Theory is the only one that's not.
Yeah, she is on Raw. Okay, never mind.
It didn't make any sense to me why you're, again, another non-logical decision where Indy just won the title like last Tuesday, and now you're calling her up with the title, and like Matt said, she's hurt. So what are we doing? And then you're going to call it the tag team champions. That's fine, but so they should lose tonight. But then you called up who they were facing. So even if they lose, you're still in a pickle. It just makes no sense. Like, I wanted NXT call-ups, but the way they did it was completely illogical and makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
And they may just get rid of the NXT women's tag team titles, because those are like the only 2 tag teams left in NXT anyway for women.
Maybe they have a match and they merge them. I don't know.
I mean, they may just get rid of it because there's no other tag teams left.
They can be the undisputed women's tag team champions, and they can carry around 2 belts.
Really, in the big picture, I know we love NXT call-ups, but they may have called up too many people at this point. I mean, I feel like they called up quite a bit of people from, I think 10 people got called up at the end of the day.
That's one I really like and one I really don't like.
They missed the one they needed to call up. Braun Breaker.
But I think since they just turned him heel, and then he's got the big Nitro Carmel at the end of the month, I think they're going to let that marinate.
And he could come out and just start annihilating folks and immediately be over.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's the one I thought was coming up. I kept waiting, and no.
I like that.
Or Curtis Grimes. I'm thinking of a country singer. I like that Cameron Grimes got called up to the big leagues, to the moon. I love it.
They put him with JBL.
No.
The
Keep
money,
JBL off my
money
screen.
thing. They're both with the. I don't know.
I get it. I get what you're doing, but we saw what happened with Baron Corbin and JBL.
Well, that's Baron Corbin. He's not even drafted. He's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
I think they could really do something cool with him. Like he could go around every show and just beg for a contract.
Jeez.
And then they put him in a match They put him in a match for a contract and he loses.
Or even better, they could just keep him off TV.
Well, did y'all see the pop he got in Paris?
Oh, yeah, he got a win in Paris and he got a huge pop too.
Yeah, I've never seen because he's never gotten a pop like that. I was like, maybe he'll go to Paris all the time, like Dylan Brooks go to China, and we'll send Baron Corbin to Paris.
I don't know. They could do something cool with him just because he's so overly booed. Like they could do something with that. Him not getting drafted.
Well, one little side note about Baron that when I went to WrestleMania in LA, and there was like a little sideshow where Sam Robertson had a little podcast thing, and Baron Corbin was on that podcast, and within that podcast, he showed way more personality than what you see on TV. His personality in that podcast was the kind of personality you would think could get over, but for whatever reason, his character can't get that personality out of him. And if they could find a way to get that version of him out of there, he's got something. But they just can't figure out creatively the kind of story to put on him to get that out of there. And they've tried with this Lucky, and I mean, he's pretty much the king of comedians, right? Of of failed gimmicks, but there's something there. So I'm going to put that out there, and that you can pull this clip out in 3 or 4 years if he becomes champion. That that the professor said that Baron's got something if they do the right thing with him.
All right. Well, I hope they can do something. He's almost to the point where I feel bad for him, just because he's had every time you turn around, it's something different they tried to do with him, and just nothing's worked like at all. Like it's just been bad. The JBL thing was a complete flop. I thought they might have had something there, and I don't know if it's just bad writing or he's just I don't know. It's just I feel bad. That's all it is. He's not bad in the ring. It's just he can't get over. I don't get it. I mean, the Miz can get over being hated, but Baron Corbin can't get over. Oh man. All right. Well, that was round one. Let's see. There was some other people that were also picked after the night was over. Let me see if I can, because this was the draft pool. I'm trying to see if I can find those separate, because the one I had was just a draft. Do you guys have a list?
I have it, but it doesn't say what show they went to on here. Like I have who got drafted that next morning, but it doesn't say what show it only says what show 3 of them went to.
Yeah, I honestly, they're just trying to get you to watch their other shows, I guess. I wish they'd just tell us everyone instead of holding. You announce 16 picks, I guess, and then the rest of them are all like on some show that no one watches.
According to WWE.com from SmackDown, we had the Viking Raiders, Dexter Lumis, Candice LeRae, Masse and Mansoir, and Maxine Dupree, Zoe Stark, JD Madonna, Apollo Crews, Natalia, Sonya Deville, and Chelsea Green all went to Raw. And then Top Dollar, Adonis, Hit Row, and Lacey Evans went to SmackDown. So those were the after show.
Okay, so they all went to Raw. Okay, then see this list I'm looking at looks funny. Okay, so as it was, they all went to Raw, and then Hit Row and Lacey.
So Raw won that draft after draft. How was that determined? Were all those one pick? Man,
I guess it has to do with the fact that you got the 3-hour thing. Because you know how they used to do that thing where they had to do 3 picks versus 2 picks, which made sense, logically when you're filling time and hours. So I guess that's the way they kind of gave some depth with the SmackDown Lowdown draft.
Yeah.
Well, and on Friday night, so each had 4 picks on Friday night, but SmackDown got way more people on Friday night because SmackDown got all the groups and tag teams on Friday when Raw didn't get any that night. They just got individuals. So it kind of balanced out, actually. Except Saturday it was all individuals, so it looks more disparaging.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of, I don't like that they don't tell you. That's just me. I know they're trying to get people to go watch their other little show, but I just go to Twitter and see who ends up getting picked myself. But I did find that strange that there was so many on one brand. That logically supplemental draft or whatever they want to call it, that doesn't make any sense logically. Which I guess that makes sense. It doesn't make sense logically, so that's what they did.
And creatively, I think they had a really good opportunity at the bottom of the card. And Brandon, you might be able to speak more to this of how it works in soccer and in international soccer. But that whole, being relegated thing, if you're at the very bottom of the show, and then you have to kind of go down to the B League for a year, and you got to work your way back up to the A League, something like that could have created some really big drama. And if you got to have this match and the loser's going to NXT, the winner gets to stay on the main card. That creates, 2 people who don't have storylines. All of a sudden you're interested, you're invested, especially if it's some of those lower fringe characters. So again, missed opportunities from the draft.
Yeah. And I get Brock being a free agent. I like that. He should be a free agent.
Can they call it something else though? I don't like that they call him a free agent, but then you've got these other guys that are free agents, but they're not really, they're just, no one picked them.
Yeah, they should go to. Those are the ones that they should send down to NXT. If you don't get drafted, you go to NXT because, hey, we don't like Omos, but he's a free agent. But you send him an MVP to NXT for a little bit and do something with Carmelo and Trick, it may get us intrigued. Or you send Omos to do something with Braun Breaker, who knows? But and then and Dolph, I think he's done. I don't know. He's a free agent again. And then like Von Wagner, but you made him a free agent. What sense does that make?
That makes absolutely no sense. Oh man.
But I like Brock being the floater or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, I like it. I just don't like that they call him a free agent. They need to call him.
We shouldn't have more than one.
Right.
If he's like Brock's special,
if he's the free agent, then there's no other free agents. Everyone's got to be assigned somewhere.
That's what I say. If you don't get drafted, then you go to NXT,
or you're just fired. Create a storyline where they get fired and then they come knocking on the door every week trying to get in. Who was it that did that one time? They had some storyline. He was fired, but he kept coming. I can't think of who it was though.
I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
But anyway, just something that they don't do just something different. That's all I asked for. Something different. Okay. So night 2, Kyle, you got anything you want to add to our conversation? I know you kind of wanted to say something a minute ago.
I forget what I was gonna say. Not gonna lie to you.
We were talking about the free agents.
Oh yeah, the free agent. So I'm with y'all. Brock shouldn't be in the same class as Omos. That's stupid. I mean, I like the soccer idea of if you don't get drafted, then you're regulated down to NXT. That makes sense. But again, like y'all have all said, it's WWE, so they won't do that. That doesn't make sense. I mean, it doesn't. It makes too much sense. I don't know. I don't mind the free agents, but I would rather them not be so many. Like Brock being a free agent makes sense. He's a part-timer. He can show up on either show, whatever. That's fine. I don't care. But Omos being a free agent for what? No, because no show wanted him, so now he can show up wherever. That just doesn't make sense to me.
And does that not give him credibility? Like no show wanted him, that means he must be terrible, right?
Right. So, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, and then you had Von Wagner. Okay, so he's not drafted. So just leave him on NXT. Why do you?
Exactly. And same thing with Zion Quinn. Zion Quinn got called up. He's as green as the grass is outside in the ring, and you call him up to be a free agent for what? It just doesn't make any sense. I
thought Zion Quinn actually got drafted.
Did he? I thought he was a free agent. I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, no, Zion Quinn. He's a free agent. Okay, I was like, the list was weird.
Cool.
Drafted as a free agent.
Oh, there's more free agents I didn't realize. Okay.
Cool.
Drafted as a free agent. Yeah, Matt, that sentence doesn't make sense. Drafted as a free agent. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't like it. Pineapples.
But friend to the professor, Ward Fazzold, texts me and lets me know that I think he thinks we're thinking of Heath Slater, who was the free agent who kept knocking on everybody.
He even went to other companies trying to get signed.
Yeah.
Yes, Heath Slater. Nice. Yep, that was the one. And that was a cool gimmick too. I really liked that. He we
get a live watcher commenter. I mean, I think that's the first on this show.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Outside of like Corey that one time.
Yeah, well, Corey's on. He's a different viewer. You know, he's there just to give us a hard time.
Yeah. Ward's just here to make sure I don't cuss and get FCC violations. He's kind of protective of.
Oh, okay. So let's go to night 2. We got round 1. Seth Rollins to Raw, Charlotte Flair to SmackDown. Honestly, didn't have a problem with any of those picks. Who wouldn't want to take a title to their brand, and who wouldn't want Seth freaking Rollins and Charlotte Flair on their brand? So honestly, I don't have any issues with those. The only issue, again, and we already talked about it with the women's flipping the belts thing. I just don't like that, but we've already talked about that. Anybody got any thoughts other than it's pretty straightforward picks? I mean, I will say they didn't. The first rounds, I guess, they did take the top people. Like, for instance, if they'd have taken like Roman Reigns in like the second round, or like they took top people in the top rounds, which actually makes sense and that's good. You don't want to. The people that are taken in the first couple rounds should be your better talent. So I think your belts, people that have belts and your better talent should go in the higher rounds, and I think they did that here pretty easily.
The only logical inconsistency I didn't like on that is if you're going to make the the Bloodline versus KO and Sammy, your night one main event, that should have probably been reflected in the draft. I think that they should have been the first round picks, and it could have really highlighted some of that Bloodline, Usos kind of a thing. But maybe they'll use it as ammo that you were drafted in the second round kind of a thing, and part of that lingering friction. But I didn't like that inconsistency, or let them be the main event on if you want to elevate them, have that be your Saturday night main event instead of the Bloodline against Sammy and KO. Not that KO down there on the screen, but
yeah. That's nephew KO. Uncle KO is the one on Raw.
Yeah, my boy Uncle Kevin. That's why I call him.
We're still waiting. We're still waiting for him to get us some tickets from Uncle Kevin, to some ringside tickets.
I'm working on it. He'll be down for Thanksgiving, and we'll be able to talk at the table.
Thanksgiving? That's a long time, man.
It's closer than you think.
Okay.
And do Canadians even celebrate Thanksgiving?
That's a great question. I'm invited him and Sammy down to celebrate an American Thanksgiving in Texas. So
okay,
we'll see what happens.
Hopefully, he comes through. No, we're good to go round two.
We're good, yeah.
All right, round two. And here's your KO and Sami Zayn pick, number one in the round two to Raw. Right behind them, the Usos to SmackDown. Included in that, which was interesting that they drafted some factions together. But since she has the belt, I guess she has to be separate. I don't know. They do that Roman Reigns, but anyway. So they went to Raw, and then the LWO with 18 people. No, just Rey Mysterio and the Santos Escobar and Toro and Wild and Vega. So that's 5 people in one group. I'm glad. My first thoughts is thank you. Judgment Day and LWO are splitting. I'm a little tired. I mean, the deadbeat dad thing is it's only promo I think Dominic has at this point. He has to talk about his deadbeat dad every single time he picks up a microphone. I'm ready for them to split, and then maybe they can rehash that a little later. But give that some separation. They're also splitting the Edge off, like I mentioned earlier. I think that's good. Judgment Day will maybe get some new people to feud with. Maybe hopefully they'll give them a new matchup. I'm hoping. What are y'all's thoughts there?
I agree with that. My only thing in this round was, so they put Sammy and Kevin on Raw, so that makes me think, are they going to create a new tag team title for SmackDown? But if they do, like, there's there's no other tag teams really. I mean, like Judgment Day, and they didn't bring many tag teams to Raw. They put, outside of the champions, they put all the other tag teams on SmackDown. So I don't know, is Sammy and Kevin going to go float back and forth, but they still got drafted? So they only go to Raw when they're not champions, or which they're probably going to lose the title soon anyway because they can't go to Saudi. So we'll see. I don't know what's going. It was just, I thought that was odd.
Well, you got Ricochet and Braun Strowman.
We'll get to that, and don't even like that. Like, why are they a team? Like, what?
One thing that's incredibly frustrating, and again, I'm just sitting here as the dark cloud complaining about WWE creative and the little things that they used to do. They would always take really good care.
I'm with you. It's not just you. I'm a negative dark cloud about Vince McMahon every time we come on here. So
you're in good company.
Please go ahead.
You're in good company here. We all are WWE haters here.
I want to be a WWE liker. I want to be positive about this. But if you remember on the thing they were selling on the very first pick with Roman and could the Usos be drafted was you can't draft 5 people at one time because that just wouldn't be fair. And then what do we do here with the LWO? We draft 5 people here at one time. It's those little bitty things that, you just watch and it's not even hard to pick up on. It's just like, all of a sudden, you can't draft 5 people unless you're the LWO. Then you can draft 5 actual competitors, whereas the other one was 4 and Paul Heyman. So they were spinning that story as why they couldn't draft them all together, and then that just completely gets blown out of the water with this LWO pick.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I don't know. They used to. I mean, I've never known them to draft factions together. Can y'all remember if they've in the past? I know they've done tag teams, but have they drafted a faction as one in the past?
I think they maybe done one, but not 15 of them.
They drafted a lot more. And again, in fairness, I personally like the factions because it helps them in storylines because they don't know how to write regular storylines anyway. So at least they have something to make things, make sense a little bit. Not that they make sense a lot of the time, but at least you have something like you can mix up. They've done a good job of kind of keeping this Judgment Day LWO without getting it too boring because they kind of mix and match the matches a little bit here and there. It's time to end it, but that has worked when they injected Delgado del Fantasma in with the LW and they made the LWO. They kind of gave this storyline a little bit more, I guess, energy because it was kind of getting stale. So that's helped it a little bit, and I like that. But drafting 5 people, that's a lot because to me, if you're saying that you can draft a whole group, then from the very beginning of the first pick, don't you want to get a lot of good talent in one roster? If I can get 5 guys, if I'm a drafting for the Dallas Cowboys and I can take 5 players or I can take one, am I taking only one or am I taking 5?
Apparently, that was the Philadelphia Eagles philosophy. Let's get the Georgia Bulldogs in there and just start drafting all of them. But Brett, you're being way too kind because ultimately, this is their biggest problem with laziness is using these factions because all they do is just rotate. If they got 3 against 3, they're just rotating those 3 in different matches and not actually building them up and letting them be strong when they face each other. It's just we're gonna have a month of dances and a blow off match and you're gonna dance with your next partner. So
Well, if they don't have the factions, though, Matt, if they don't have the factions, then the groupings don't make any sense. It's like, hey, let's throw 5 random guys together and let them fight these guys. I don't know why they like each other or why they're together, but okay, let's just throw them out. So that at least they have some semblance of okay, we're at least a group. So that's the main reason because, like I said, WWE has so many problems with making things actually work. At least if they're together as a group, then we know why they're together. That's my main thing. Not that is lazy. I agree with you 100%. But they don't know how to write it any other way. So that's the only way they can do it. They can't. I mean, you watch this other program on Wednesday night, and they seem to figure out how to make like they've got the pillars thing going. They're throwing back to like right when AEW started, like bringing all this together, and it actually makes sense. WWE, they couldn't do that. There's no way they can put things together and make things make sense. So that's kind of like their handicap, I guess.
that and titles. It's like if we can just make more titles, we can make a storyline out of that. It's complete lazy booking. It's crap WWE, and you get $1 million writers and creative team coming up with this. Yet off the ropes, we could do this ourselves. And probably create a better episodes more often. It's just
we should just have an episode of how would we book it?
fantasy booking. I mean, you can make LWO be big and the Judgment Day be big at the same time without just having to have these individual matches. You can build 2 people and then build them up and have promos and whatnot to where then you have a blow off all of a sudden on a Backlash or a Monday Night Raw after Backlash where you have these finally getting to wrestle each other. Instead, we're just getting tag teams and odd 6-man pairings just to keep these factions fighting each other. And clearly, one is getting the edge over the other. It's just lazy booking, Kyle. That's what I'm saying, man. Lazy booking.
Listen, I was excited for an LWO Judgment Day feud until these past 3 weeks we've gotten different variations of the matches, and now I'm like, okay, I don't care anymore. I don't care about it. And that's the point you were talking about. They like to blow through these feuds so quickly with these factions when they could drag these out. Give me a one-on-one with Santos and Finn. Give me a one-on-one with Ray and Dominic, or something.
They like the 6-man tag too much.
And that ruins the whole feud because now you've given me a pay-per-view match before a pay-per-view. So now it doesn't make sense to me. I don't like it. They need to do that better with their factions. I heard you talking about AEW a little bit. they got AEW's coming around with them factions now and starting to use those a little better. So, but they have the same issue where they blow through matches too. So it's a creative thing that just, I mean, it takes a little bit of effort, but if you could be a little more creative and not just blow through all the matches at once, you can drag out a storyline for 3-4 months until a big pay-per-view and have a big blow off. But instead they blow through it in a month and then have it at the pay-per-view. And we've already seen 12 different variations of the match. Now, when the match happens, we're like, okay, cool. Great match.
And one thing AEW has done that you see a little bit with the Bloodline, because necessarily Roman isn't on every single week. It's okay to not have a story every single week. It's okay to have a wrestler take a week or two off and slow build that way if you have to. If you don't have the creative to write the storylines over, an arc of a month or 2 months. So
the problem is they don't have any other storyline that really interests me right now except for the Bloodline storyline. Honestly, I tune in just to see if they're gonna, when's Jay and Jimmy gonna realize they're getting used and about to get kicked out at this point. I mean, that's the problem, is you can take Roman off the show a few weeks, but you can't take the Bloodline completely off. Otherwise, there's nothing else that gets you hooked in. At least that's my opinion right now. There's not really any other storyline right now that I'm like hooked into on WWE except for that. Other than that, I could just flip through and skip through, see who wins the matches, and just move on.
And that's the beauty of good writing. If they can make the creative work, and that was the beauty of the Attitude Era, because so many storylines were important, and you cared about the undercard as much as you cared about the main events, and we just don't have that anymore. You don't have the Edge, Christian, Hardy Boys, Dudleys, kind of 4 or 5 matches below the main event who are just tearing it up, and you care about it because they have storylines and elements to it that are captivating. Now we have this and it's a beautiful story. It's probably it's probably, since Undertaker Kane, one of the best stories the WWE has created in a long time, and they're squandering it without having the support of other compelling storylines. And that's just effort. That's just having creative people sit down and say, okay. And I see a little bit of trying, like this whole Chad Gable and Otis. And I mean, they're trying to create
Otis. There's Kyle. Otis.
And even though they're trying not to make it happen, are you not interested in LA Knight? I mean, I know we're going to talk about him in a little bit.
That's Kyle's boy.
He's getting some elements of excitement behind him.
Yeah. They could really do something with him. I liked him in Impact as Eli Drake. He's got the charisma. Those kind of people can just basically sell their own storylines if they just give them the opportunity to do so. But
and then you could throw Cameron Grimes and LA Knight and say they tore it up in NXT, and you can have all kinds of throwbacks to that. So there's potential, but you got to write the stories and you got to make it make sense.
All right, so we got the next round is round 3. We've got Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to Raw. Question: they're the women's tag championships. They are the 3rd round. That's interesting. So you don't want the women's tag belts on your program, evidently.
They mean nothing.
Evidently they don't, Kyle. You're right. Evidently they don't. Asuka to SmackDown. New Day, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods to Raw. No interest of Big E. I don't know if anybody heard anything. He has a really bad injury. He's been out over a year, I think, at this point. Do we think he's gonna ever wrestle again?
We hope so. Obviously, I mean that
really miss him.
Is rough, but I mean, at least throw his picture up there, and say when he comes back, he's going to be with the New Day or something.
He's a free agent, Matt. He's a free agent.
A free agent.
Yeah. And then of course the Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch. I hate that, by the way. To SmackDown. Why can't they change the guy's name to Pete Dunne? Come on, Butch. That's like an insult. It's like your dog. Come here, Butch. Yeah, that one's not as bad as Butch to me. Butch is like, they changed the guy's name. It was Pete Dunne, and that guy meant something at NXT. He can go, and he's like a lackey, and call him Butch. That's a guy right there that needs a push. He needs to turn on Sheamus.
He looks like Paperboy when he had his little hat on.
Yes, that was, and like the suspenders.
Yeah, he looked like he was a paperboy back in like the 1800s or something in England. I don't know. That's what it looked like to me.
I can remember when NXT UK first came out, him and Tyler Bate went back and forth with some incredible matches. Like he can go, and another one I missed, and I don't know if anybody's heard, but where's oh gosh, I just went blank. Tommaso Ciampa is who I'm thinking of. He's been out a long time. Talking about someone that can tear it down. Him and Gargano had some. I thought they were going to kill each other matches over the years, and I'd love to see another feud with those guys for even it could be for a title at this point because they should both be getting pushes. That's where they NXT for a while they built all these guys up, and it's like please don't call my guy up to the main roster, please, and they call him up and ruin him. It's like, but that's another one that I'm wondering about because he's been out injured as well.
But ultimately, and Kyle's kind of talked about this, with Vince McMahon, you have the big guy syndrome that if you're not a big guy, you're not a valued member, and obviously when it works, when you have a Sheamus and Drew and Gunther kind of a triple threat match, they can do it well, and you got Roman obviously, but they are very hesitant to push the smaller guys, and ultimately that's a big problem of theirs that they're gonna have to work past.
Austin Theory. I mean, he's
pretty jacked up these days. I mean, if you look at him, he looks like a superstar.
But he's not, your prototypical big guy either, and he's gotten a pretty good push. That's Vince.
Well, you say that, but he had the Money in the Bank, and they made him use it for the U.S. title.
Yeah, true.
And as Cena said, they're pushing him down our throat, and we're not buying. So
Gargano right
that's
now.
great that you're.
But Gargano's being wasted.
Yes.
I mean, I don't get it. He's been playing around with the Miz and Dexter Lumis, which I like Lumis a lot. He's got some cool, that with his story with the Miz was another one of the better ones of recent time, in my opinion. That was a cool storyline.
And then they just ended it, and that's just part of the poor creative that needs to really be in place to facilitate excellence. Is that if you're going to write these stories, extend them, make them relevant, make us care about them, because Dexter Lumis is one of their most captivating characters, and we don't really know much about him, and then he just disappears for a while, and then the only kind of flashbacks we get is him lifting Indy up at NXT, and you get that kind of throwback. Probably one of the most underutilized, more interesting characters that you have, but again, just what is happening with them. I wonder if we got them all in a room, how many of those would regret being called up from NXT? I mean, they might like the payday, but the character development's just not there.
Yeah, I don't understand why. What is it saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's like the opposite of WWE. They move it up to the main roster. They got to either change their name, take their last name away, just completely change their character. Like, why not? It's like they don't want to admit that NXT exists sometimes. They don't even want to refer back to it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And then even give a shout out to our friend of the of DFW football, Keith Lee. I mean, they had him in a program with Roman for like a week, and it made sense, and then done.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna call him the Bearcat. Now he's an AEW wrestler.
Yeah, and he's kind of been scarce over there. I'm hoping they'll kind of go back to the a feud with him and excuse me. Oh gosh, what's his name? The tag team partner.
Swerve.
Yeah. Like they kind of just broke up and it just nothing ever happened. I'm hoping that they'll go back to that at some point. We lost Brandon. Not sure what happened.
Rest in peace, Brandon. We're thinking of you right now, wherever you might be.
Yeah, we lost him there. I don't know if maybe it was this next round. He didn't want to hear who got drafted. I don't know. We're in round 4. This is interesting. Trish Stratus is getting drafted. Kyle, go ahead, Kyle.
Why?
I don't know. Because she's relevant all of a sudden because she took
Tell
out
us, Kyle,
Becky
why?
Lynch and she took out poor Rita. Or Lita, I'm sorry, Rita. I'm thinking old
She had her
Teenage
she had
Mutant
her
Turtles.
she had her
Marvel.
heel turn with the most vicious forearm this side of the Mississippi. I mean, it would have taken Brock Lesnar out, So Trish deserves everything. Thank you, Trish. That's what she said when she came in. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Trish.
The second pick, round 4, Karrion Kross with Scarlett to SmackDown. Even though it didn't say anything about Scarlett when the pick was made, she was in the graphic, but it does show it here now. I guess they've added that in. Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey to Raw, which they've been injured. Like you pick some injured women wrestlers over someone that's healthy.
Don't they still have a chance at the belt too since they won at WrestleMania?
Yeah, they'll probably cash it in 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
Because
we have completely different tag team champions.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no build or anything there at all. Then you got Kyle's boy, L.A. Knight, drafted to SmackDown. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me hear from you, Kyle.
I know, my bad. Yeah. Sorry.
So that I like that pick. The Trish pick is interesting to me. I don't know, like what
interesting is the wrong word.
Why? That was a great question from Kyle. Like, I don't understand.
Makes no sense. There's no logic behind it. Because she's feuding with Becky Lynch. Okay. So that gets us through maybe 1 or 2 pay-per-views, and then she goes away. So what was the point in drafting her when you could have drafted Braun Breaker or somebody else from NXT to that brand, or one of the free agents that you drafted?
Shouldn't she be a free agent since she's kind of like Brock Lesnar? She's part-time?
Yeah.
Part-timers should be free agents other than Roman Reigns because he's a champion.
Yeah. And I could see Roman Reigns in the future having the Brock Lesnar type deal where he's just a free agent. It would make sense if he goes that route on his schedule. So, what any thoughts on that one, Matt?
I agree with everything you said. The Trish thing is very curious. Again, it allows an opportunity to upgrade somebody that you choose not to upgrade. At the end of the day, LA Knight is a nice pick, and it's kind of a nod that he's grown up. Karrion Kross is being underutilized. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are 2 legit badasses. And when they get their stories together and they get healthy, I mean, that is a legitimate team with some built-in storylines, that can compete with anybody on either side of the roster. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on because they've got that legit status to them. And they're pretty, Shayna Baszler can go. I mean, you watched her in NXT and she had some 5-star matches over there. And it's almost like you had to make it make sense when she lost because she was so dominant over there. And I think with that kind of push, she could really run the Raw, at least give competition to potentially Rhea Ripley at some point.
Well, I think they could possibly do something like they could take the tag belts and make a dominant run with them. They could almost do a bloodline-esque, like, keep the belts for a really long time, put some real, I guess, meaning to the belts. Like right now, do you care that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are the champs?
Right. Absolutely not.
So they could take those belts and elevate them so that when they do relinquish them, it could cause a split. They could have a feud. There's a lot of things you could do with that. And that would be a good match between the 2 of them, maybe at a Mania or something.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
and that's something long-term booking, you could have almost a 2-year run with them, and then they finally, or maybe a year and a half, and then give them that 6 months to feud at WrestleMania, and it's something you want to see. And it might even have that pit match or whatever that they sometimes have, and with Riddle, and a couple of other times with that. I think they made freaking Rollins in the pit at one point as well. Made him take a loss in the pit. So if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, we got to see the development at some point.
Yeah. Cal, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I do not.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving.
You ready? Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Yeah. Round 5. And this is Kyle's got some thoughts on this first pick of round 5. I'm pretty sure here. Round 5, Braun Strowman and Ricochet drafted together as a tag team and first pick of round 5. Kyle definitely have thoughts. You can tell by his face.
I mean, I like Ricochet, and Braun is an enormous human being, but again, not a real tag team. So what are we doing here? Why not split them up, have them go their separate ways?
Are they punishing Braun for making the comment he doesn't like guys that fly and jump through the air?
It seems like it, but it worked out. I mean, they're a good tag team. They're entertaining. And what Ricochet can do when Ricochet does that swanton off of Braun's shoulders, that's pretty cool. But I mean,
maybe they get the belt, make a run, possibly. Maybe they turn. Braun just demolishes Ricochet and he turns on him, and then they make a feud out of it. Possibly.
I think they need to make Ricochet go heel. Ricochet, I don't think has ever been a heel. I mean, I think Ricochet being a heel would be interesting.
Is it believable though? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, I'll cheer Ricochet, but same thing we talked about with Bianca that one time, turning her heel just because she hasn't been heel. It's something different. It's to get her character in a different spot. So I wouldn't mind seeing Ricochet as a heel just to see what it does.
Yeah, and you haven't heard him talk very much. It would be interesting to see. He doesn't come out and talk a whole lot.
And ultimately, Braun is one of those characters, and maybe you'll disagree with this, but I mean, if you're going to pick 5 people who could legitimately beat Roman Reigns on either roster right now, he's probably one of the 5. I mean, you could talk about Brock having another chance, Gunther, Cody Rhodes, maybe main event Jey Uso. But I mean, there's not a lot of people, and Seth Rollins. There's not a lot of people you could just believe would beat Roman Reigns, and Braun is one of them. I mean, they've had some killer matches in the past, and Braun's gone over them in the past. So ultimately, there's a character there that, again, even in the world of the bigs that Vince likes, they're just not using him well. And I appreciate they're trying to give him something, and I guess something beats nothing. But tag teams.
Well, the next pick in the 5th round, you got Shotzi to SmackDown, Bronson Reed to Raw, and then Pretty Deadly from NXT to SmackDown.
Not a fan. I like Shotzi, but she brings nothing to the division. I really like the pick of Bronson Reed. Huge Bronson Reed fan. But Pretty Deadly, I'm not a fan of their gimmick. They can go in the ring. They're decent in the ring, but I don't care for their gimmick. So this round 5 was kind of a miss. Other than
he liked Bronson Reed. That's pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can go with that. I mean, Braun Strowman, Ricochet. If they're a team, okay, they're a good pick there. Shotzi, I think they haven't gotten the right. I don't know. They keep bouncing her back and forth between tag partners, but they haven't really tried to put her over at all. I mean, she's been just kind of fluttering in the midst of everything on the main roster. Bronson Reed's gotten a good push, and he's had that kind of the feud back and forth with him, Lashley, and Theory, which has been pretty cool. And I'm with Kyle. Pretty Deadly. I could do without those girly looking outfits. That's just, I'm not a fan. I know it's their gimmick or whatever, but I didn't even recognize them. They announced them and they stood up at NXT. They were all celebrating. I was like, oh, they're actually not really dumb looking when they're just wearing their little NXT garb. But I can't get past the gimmick. I don't like it. But to each their own, I guess.
And they may get a little bit of a tweak for the main roster because obviously I don't know how well that will fly in the land of prime time. But, we've really seen, other than Gunther, you haven't seen anybody come up from NXT lately who has made. I mean, it used to be you had the Shield, and then you had KO and Sammy, and you had just hit after hit after hit of people coming up and actually making a difference. I think it's really been a while since you've had the NXT come up and really make a difference. You got the Gargano, Ciampa, and that class of.
Well, you know why that's the case, though, Matt?
Why is that?
AEW.
Well,
before that, they were trying to sign. NXT was when Triple H was in charge. They were trying to sign those hot indie guys, and they had a lot of those guys that they signed, and that's why. As soon as AEW came around, a lot of those guys they changed the way they signed. They were signing younger talent and trying to build them up, which is fine as long as you can build a character, which they've had trouble doing here lately. But I think AEW took a lot of those guys like that they were trying to sign. A lot of the of course, Adam Cole was a huge one that left NXT, went over there. Those type of guys went over to AEW. That's why you're not seeing as many coming up from NXT.
Surely Brandon loves him some Pretty Deadly.
So real quick. So my computer decided to restart on its own.
Okay.
And I guess it was doing an update. It took forever to come back, but I did turn on the on my phone. I was listening to y'all. I missed what y'all said about round 4. I have some thoughts there. I'll get back to it. But so I have been listening ever since. I've been listening since Trish.
Yeah.
To now.
Go ahead. Give us your thoughts.
So Pretty Deadly. They're pretty cool. They're cool NXT. I like Elton Prince. I don't like the other dude, but I think Elton Prince could be, with a different gimmick, could be a star one day. I think but they're going to keep them together. But him as an individual, because I heard Kyle say, they're really good in the ring. Well, Elton Prince is he's probably one of the best in the ring I've seen in a long time. Like the other Kit dude, he's okay, and he's got more of maybe the person. I think Elton Prince carries that team, and I think if they ever, but I don't know, I don't see them splitting them up anytime soon, just because they're kind of tied together. But the Asuka, I thought was, I didn't hear what y'all said about her. I thought maybe she was the biggest loser of the draft. You can put her on SmackDown, we'll never see her. On SmackDown, we will never see her because Bianca's a champ, and then Charlotte's going to be in 2 hours. We may see Asuka once a month, and then the Trish thing that I just can't believe she got drafted. It's she's going to be there to the SummerSlam, and that's about it. And then I can't remember who else we talked. I heard some Bronson Reed talk. Oh, and then y'all talked about Ricochet and Braun.
We talked about how good together. We had LA Knight. We like that pick.
Oh yeah, no, I love the LA Knight. I think I had him as one of my big winners, so I'm excited to see him up. And but the Braun, I don't know why they did them together. I don't know why they're a team, but Braun's used to team with 12-year-olds, so it works out.
That's funny.
Okay, let's go. I'm back.
All right. Anybody else got any thought? Kyle, you got anything on that? Are you good? All right, we're gonna go to round 6 then. We got selected first in round 6. We got Alpha Academy, which I thought that was one of the ones I thought could split. They've been teasing Otis, Maximum Male Models. I thought, well, maybe this time they split them. Well, of course they didn't. They kept them together, and I believe they're all in the same brand, too. So that'll be interesting to see if he will, on his own, split away from Chad Gable. Got Rick Boogs. They did split up. Well, did we do where Elias went? Did they split them up?
He's a free agent.
Okay. That was another one I thought they were going to split, and they didn't announce Elias, which, again, defeats the purpose of, are you going to split somebody? Why are you just going to, they're a free agent. So now is Rick Boogs going to try to go to I'd say the GM, but there's not one. Is he going to go to management and say, hey, I got to have my guy Elias. You got to sign him, and they have something going there. I don't know, because it kind of, again, it defeats the purpose of signing one, not the other. I don't understand that. Then you had Katana Chance and Caden Carter drafted to Raw, which we talked about them. They have the NXT Championship match. Is that tonight?
Yeah,
I think it was tonight. So they'll either have the belts or the other team. And then you had Cameron Grimes to SmackDown. I like that one. I like Cameron Grimes' gimmick. I think he just needs to give some airtime in the right feud, and he could do something with it. I kind of thought, I mentioned JBL earlier. y'all might not agree with me, but I think somebody like that to give him some credibility. They've got the money thing kind of in common. You know, he could do something there. It didn't work out for Baron Corbin, but it's Baron Corbin. Maybe it would work out for Grimes if you're going to have Jay Bill around. What are you guys' thoughts on that round?
Well, I can already tell you who Cameron Grimes' first feud is going to be against.
Okay.
It's going to be The Miz. I mean, right?
Everybody goes against the Miz.
Yeah, it's
first.
going to be The Miz.
He's like that first match, and he takes the crush.
Yeah. Well, and he had a good thing. Like him and LA Knight's thing they did in NXT was really, really good. And The Miz and LA Knight are, LA Knight's a more improved Miz now.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I just felt like, but they did tease a little Miz and Shinsuke last night. So we'll see.
Yeah. Kyle, what'd you have?
I don't remember what I said.
It was Cameron Grimes. We're talking about his first feud.
I was saying that the Miz is like level 1
Oh.
of the game. Like you start the game, you have to get past the Miz in order to.
I like that.
In order to get to the moon.
To the moon.
All
right. You can keep my grid.
No, I like that. That's a good way to put it there. Matt?
It's like the back of the old days when you had vignettes and you could do character development. They did that in NXT. You really got to see Cameron Grimes grow, especially as he got the crypto millionaire guy character rolling in. You got to see those cute little clips of him, and just get him on there. Find a way to let him talk. And I guess if you put him with the Miz, that's a built-in Miz TV every week to chat and fight and whatnot. Just a couple of spoilers. Indy gave up her title on NXT tonight. I was doing a little so they're gonna have a tournament for that. And Isla Dawn and whoever, the Fire Girl, they won. So they're taking the titles to Raw, which is weird or SmackDown, because it's weird that you bury them before you bring them up. So like, why have that match? It's just one of those kind of things that leave you scratching your head. But I think Cameron Grimes has a chance to be big. But I was really liking the Rick Boogs and put him back with Nakamura. I was enjoying that. Why not at least give that another run? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, and so she just come out and walk out with it and just like forfeit the title? Is that basically what happened there?
That's ridiculous.
Why?
She can't wrestle.
I don't know. It's so cool seeing her get it, and then
They give her the title in the first place. Why give it to her in the first place? It makes no sense.
Let's put her over, and then she just hands it back.
I haven't watched it, but I mean, there was a picture on Twitter of Dexter Lumis carrying her off. So maybe there's building something there.
Don't get too ahead of yourself, Matt. Let's not assume anything. You know what happens to people that assume.
Well, especially with the WWE. We just get mad.
So I've got a list. I guess this one gives me a list of all the supplemental picks, and I'll go down and
hold on. Before we get to that, does Cameron Grimes count as Mr. Irrelevant, or will that be one of the supplemental picks?
Well, you got a lot of Mr. Irrelevance because you don't know who was picked last.
He was technically the last pick.
He was technically the last pick. Yeah, you're right. I'll just go down through here, and then y'all can pick some ones that y'all find interesting that we have here. Looks like for supplemental draft picks, we got Dana Brooke to Raw, Nikki Cross to Raw, Johnny Gargano to Raw, Angel Garza, and Humberto Carrillo. They still work for WWE? Interesting. Why aren't they in the LWO? Or
why aren't they in the Maximum Male Models?
What's
they
that?
could be in either one.
Go ahead. What Cal say?
You can't just go and put all Mexicans in the LWO.
Hey, listen, Kyle. Here's my point. Was there any reasoning behind putting the group they have together now besides Legado del Fantasma was already a group?
Yes.
They just joined Rey Mysterio. They
But Santos is trying to gain the respect of Rey, and so he's taking up for Rey, and he just brought his team with him, Legado. So that makes sense. But just throwing Angel and Humberto in there because it's Hispanic, you can't do that
right now.
That's a Vince McMahon move, Brett. We don't do that.
Hey, there's nothing else for them to do. At least they'd be on TV.
That you know the only reason Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are together, they're both from Scotland.
Hey. Well, at least it's something. like you've got Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. When's the last time they've been on TV?
Been
Well,
on-
I don't watch main events, so who knows?
I mean,
They
that-
still do that?
at least it would be something. Lackeys for somebody. I don't. It just Anyway, Akira Tozawa Raw, Piper Niven Raw, Xia Li Raw, Tegan Knox Raw, Emma Raw, Madcap Moss Raw.
They were drafted together,
Who's that?
Moss and Emma.
Well, it didn't say that listed here.
Oh,
but-
it does here, but they were. I saw a graphic.
Oh, did
They
it?
were
Okay.
drafted together, which is,
And then I didn't know this was the name of their group. Indus Shear. It's
Yeah,
Mahal, Veer, and Sangha are
Yeah.
drafted to SmackDown. Odyssey Jones SmackDown. Tamina SmackDown. Grayson Waller. I like that pick to SmackDown. I think he could be entertaining.
Yeah, I think Industry went to Raw and Odyssey Jones went to Raw. So Odyssey Jones, he hasn't been on TV in like forever. He doesn't do anything. Why is he already getting called up?
Who's
But
that?
Odyssey Jones.
Oh,
He, like,
yeah.
But Grayson Waller, one I love. Like, I mean, get Grayson Waller on SmackDown. Like, give. I'm a big Grayson Waller fan. I think he can be. I mean, I think he's a superstar, and I think you can do so many things with him. I would actually probably like to see him on Raw because I'd like to see him something with him and Seth. And there's just more people on Raw I would like to see him with. But he's a star, and put him on my TV. He's great. And there was not much they could do in NXT with him anymore because he already had his title shots. He kept losing them, and he'd run his course there. But there's a lot you can do with him.
I did the math because you're listing off all these supplemental, and I keep hearing this person, Piper Niven, and whatnot. I counted 22 women drafted to Raw from just the list. When are you might are we going to start seeing 16-man tag matches to get them on? I mean, what?
Well, we know they're not going to. We know they don't.
If you can't get them on the TV.
Well, they're not going to have that many matches because of a 30-hour Raw, usually is like 30 minutes of matches. The rest of it is promos, entrances, and stuff like that. I think it was like a week or two ago, I saw where somebody posted that was like out of the entire 3 hours, it was literally like less than 30 minutes of actual matches. And that was like 4 or 5 matches. So, yeah, how are they going to get them on? They're going to have a big, maybe they have a revolt in the locker room, and all these women that don't get on, they create some big group, and they just come attack all the other women and just beat them down, and we have some big, War Games type match. I don't know, something.
Thinking outside the box, Bret, which is
I don't know.
antithetical to WWE.
Maybe they come in and be like they're like Nexus, and they just form. They circle the ring and they just start beating people up, tearing the whole thing, whole ring apart. Everything. I don't know, something. That's the only way they're gonna get that many women on, because they already don't get very much airtime anyway. When you have that many on one show, unless you're gonna have some other belts. Maybe that's why they're bringing 2 on the main roster. I don't know.
The women's 24/7 title.
Oh my gosh.
R-Truth is coming back.
Oh man.
He's a free agent like Brock,
Oh, and Kyle's got the 24/7 title now. That's where it is.
Is that guy behind him going to roll him up for the title?
You got the 24/7 title. That's where it's been all this time.
If I have it, it's burning in a dumpster somewhere.
Honestly though, you laugh at that, but some of the storylines they had for a while, the 24/7 title actually entertained me. Like with R-Truth, he did some of the, and then what was the guy, the one that he danced and jumped and flipped?
Tozawa?
No, not Tozawa. He was in there too. But
The guy that's in NXT now. He was Reggie. He's stripped from NXT now. Yeah, the wine guy.
But I can't think of him.
Reggie.
Yes, he did some of the craziest stuff with that thing. Like he would. It was actually very entertaining. It got old after a while, I'll admit. But there for a while, I mean, they made some funny segments out of that.
Yeah, Reggie's the new Ali, like in NXT. He does like these cryptic messages, and but he still flips like crazy. So
Okay, so I don't watch NXT a whole lot. That's probably why I don't know he's there. But yeah, it was that belt was actually it, and it involved a lot of people. So you had all these people running around. It was kind of silly.
it involved
But at
everybody
least-
that we never see anymore.
But at least you got it. They got on TV. I mean, there was something there. I mean,
Yeah, we haven't seen Tamina since, or Dana Brooke, or any of them.
yeah. I don't know.
They've been starting to plug Tozawa in some weird stuff, but
Yeah.
backstage. But he hadn't had a match in 3 years. So
All right, y'all ready to talk some
Let's
Backlash?
WrestleMania Backlash.
Well, they still have that? I thought they changed it back to just Backlash now.
yeah, it's just the Backlash now. It's the whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just go here.
First match. Let's go.
I just have the match card, and it's got Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes on it listed first. So we'll start there.
No, because you always got to start with it. That means that's gonna be the last match.
So you'll be start from the bottom. Okay.
Start at the bottom.
Okay. Bottom we'll start Austin Theory, Bronson Reed, and Bobby Lashley.
Yours is different than mine because the bottom of mine is Seth and Omos.
Well, then you got. Oh, well, that Kyle's ready to talk about Omos. We'll start with that one.
Okay, Kyle, let's hear you storyboard that match. I've been promised this all night.
Yep. Kyle, we're ready for you. It's Seth versus Omos.
What?
Seth versus Omos. We want to hear your thoughts first.
Okay.
His thoughts were.
We have technical difficulties. I apologize.
His
ladies
thoughts
and
were he doesn't care.
I'm taking Seth freaking Rollins. Couldn't care less about this match. It's a bathroom break. It won't go more than 5 minutes.
What if it's the first match?
Bathroom break early then.
Okay.
It won't go more than 5 minutes.
Won't go more than 5 minutes. We hope not.
I'm gonna take the over. Actually, I think they will drag that out for at least 8.
Seth's entrance takes 5, so
Yeah, that's true. Well, are you counting the intros in your 5 minutes?
But I think that I think they're just gonna let him beat up Seth for a little while, and maybe Seth will have one round of offense. He'll shut him down, and then he'll have the second run of offense, which will maybe be the stomp off the top rope or something. Because you gotta make Omos's losses look historic and bigger than life. So I'm predicting the finisher as a stomp off the top rope.
Ooh, like that. Yeah, there's no way that Omos is going over Seth here. It's got to be Seth Rollins for me. I just don't see any other way. I feel like Seth is one of those possible for the new big gold world title, one of the possible players in that. I think they're going to use this to make him look strong. And, yeah, I'm going to go with Seth.
Agreed.
Brandon?
oh yeah, Seth freaking Rollins.
You said Omos, Brandon?
Seth freaking Rollins. Let's go.
We'll have to get Jereme to send us his picks, so if he comes back on the review show, we can tally those up.
We can go give him
Because I would have
Omos.
believed Omos could have beat Brock, so once you throw that out the window,
Yeah,
back to jobber status.
true. All right, Brandon, what you got next on yours there?
Well, we can go. You can go any order because I don't know if the next match on mine. Like I don't know what the main event is. Is the main event Cody and Brock, or is the main event Bloodline and?
To me, the main event is the Bloodline versus KO, and that's the one I'm looking forward to against Matt Riddle.
And then the poster is Damian and Bad Bunny. So like,
that's because Bad Bunny's the host, probably.
Yeah, but that might be the match I'm looking forward to the most.
The Bad Bunny Damian Priest match.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that one then. Let's talk about it. So, Kyle, we're going to talk about Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. What do you got?
You have to give your analysis in Spanish, by the way.
I see. That's all I got. My gut tells me to take Damian, but I feel like they may give Bad Bunny the win since it's in Puerto Rico.
But they're both from Puerto Rico, aren't they?
Yeah, but Bad Bunny's the host, and he's not a full-time person. It's a street fight. It's a street fight. Judgment Day is going to help Damian. I'm taking Priest.
Okay, so Kyle's going to go with Damian Priest. This one's a toss-up to me, actually. I'm kind of with Kyle. I think it could go either way. They're both from Puerto Rico. If it was one that was from Puerto Rico and the other one wasn't, yeah, I could see that. But he's right. The street fight could be the determining factor. If it was a regular match, and then you got the Judgment Day factor. Now, you got Zelina Vega and Rhea Ripley, so Rhea's going to be preoccupied. But the other guys they don't have a match, so that could be, and they could involve this. I like Damian as well, unfortunately. I hope Bad Bunny wins, but for picking purposes, I think you're putting over Damian Priest.
I'm shocked at you two because this is completely WWE typecasted to be the Bad Bunny win, and we're going to see the most horrific screw job to justify it. That's why we're having the street fight, is to justify in a way to allow Bad Bunny to win it, because they can't let Bad Bunny win a normal match. But they're going to let him win or they wouldn't be doing it. I mean, this is complete WWE. It's to me, it's obvious that we're going to see Bad Bunny winning. It's just going to be, how is it going to get there, and how bad are they going to get screwed, and are you going to get Rey Mysterio and continue that story in there? But I think it's going to take the Village, but I think the Village will beat Damian Priest.
So we're bringing Carlito and all of them.
Cologne's in there, absolutely. We're going to go old school IWC Puerto Rico, Daddy Cologne killing somebody in the locker room kind of stuff here.
All right, Brandon, what you thinking?
I've been going back and forth on this. I'm gonna go Bad Bunny. I think he's gonna win it.
Matt told you, didn't he?
No, I was originally Bad Bunny, and then I started shifting. I was thinking, well, they're gonna put Priest over, but no, I've always thought it was gonna be Bad Bunny. And it'll be interesting to see if Kendall Jenner's ringside, and that'd have been funny if Rhea came and did something to her, but like y'all said, she's preoccupied. But maybe Kendall Jenner will distract Damian Priest and get Bad Bunny the win. So, but I think Bad Bunny. I mean, you can't have the host lose, right? Unless you're the Miz.
The Miz loses all the time.
Yeah, but this is different. Bad Bunny's gonna win.
He lost twice last. Didn't he lose twice? 3 times at WrestleMania.
3 times.
And Dig said something about being WWE. WWE actually would have this be a draw in a no disqualification match.
Oh, that's true. There's no way for a DQ, but they would find a way to make it happen. Okay.
They didn't say it's no count out. They just said no DQ.
Okay. All right, then let's go. We did Seth Rollins. Let's go with the Austin Theory, Bronson Reed, Bobby Lashley United States Championship match. Kyle, triple threat for the U.S. Championship. Who you got?
I'd like to see him give it to Bronson Reed, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see Theory losing this. I don't see him losing it right now. I think somehow by nefarious means Theory retains. But I think it'll be a really good match. I think this will be a sneaky good match between all 3 of these guys.
Who gets pinned?
Bronson.
I think. Do you pin him when they're trying to push him?
I think Bobby's getting pinned. I think
Bobby might get pinned to set up something later on.
I think Bronson's going to do a move on Bobby, and Theory's going to kick Bronson out of the ring. He'll pin Bobby, and then Bronson and Bobby will keep doing their thing, and Theory will go in the other direction.
Exactly what Brandon said.
I'm going to take the same thing, but I'm going to flip it, because I don't think they're sold on Bronson Reed. I think you want to push him, and I get why we want to push him, but Bobby, he's again one of the legit players as far as a main event guy. I mean, talk about a guy who's the ultimate loser at WrestleMania. I mean, they set him up with Bray Wyatt and going to give him a big stage, and then Bray does what Bray does, and now he's just kind of back there. Bobby has a real big opportunity. I still think Bobby has upside in his push, so I don't think he's going to take the fall from that.
So who you going to take, Matt?
I'm going to take Austin, but I think I'm going to take their storyline and flip it. I think Bobby's going to beat Bronson and then throw Bobby out of the ring and let Theory get the win.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, man, I I don't want to pick Austin Theory because I'm really tired of seeing him on TV. I don't like his character. It's just kind of like he's just this young, arrogant guy that hasn't done a whole lot. I beat John Cena. I want to say Bronson Reed, but I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's quite ready. So I kind of agree with you guys. I don't know who takes the pin. I don't think it hurts Lashley to take the pin. That's why I would lean that direction, just because a pin over Lashley doesn't do anything damage him because he's just Bobby Lashley. They're trying to push Bronson Reed, but I'm going with Theory, but I don't want to pick him, but I just think they like him, so I think that's where they're going to go.
Well, you know why Bronson Reed won't win, right? Because he's going to Raw, and they've already made it clear this title has to go SmackDown. So it's got to be Theory or Lashley based on that logic.
You would think, Brandon.
Well, I mean, they're not going to put the title. I mean, unless Gunther's going to drop his to someone from SmackDown.
Yeah, I don't know. They could ride it out with the titles like that for a minute, and then another match it switches. I don't know. It's just, but you are right. That's
Bronson wins it, and then they just make him give it up because he's on the wrong show.
Or they make him go to the other roster. They have to make a trade or something.
You have to make a trade. Yeah.
That's something they never do, which is in drafts all the time.
Yeah, I wish they would have did that like last night. The last two night did trades like.
Yeah, they've done it in the past. They just haven't done it recently. So I feel like Cena got traded one time. Okay. All right. Let's see. We got Rhea Ripley, Selena Vega, SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm going to go ahead and pick. They're not dropping off of Rhea Ripley. I know it's the home country thing, but in this case, she just got the title. They're trying to push her. I'm going with Rhea. Kyle, you got Rhea.
Rhea.
Squash match, Rhea.
I'm gonna throw a curveball.
Uh-oh.
Zelina wins, but Rhea keeps the title.
Okay.
We'll get a disqualification. So that way you still have Zelina win, and then you put more heat on Rhea, and she's still a strong champion.
Okay.
But
so how would that be picked though? Because you're picking Selena to win, but she doesn't get to keep the title. So even if it's no matter how she wins, I guess then
I'm gonna be right either way.
See that's what I'm saying. Like how is that? How we do that? Because
give me Zelina. Give me Zelina as my pick.
Okay.
She didn't win, but I think Rhea keeps the title.
Brandon. Okay.
But they gotta help the hometown girl somehow. She didn't get the title, but she still gets the win.
Well, she's getting a match for the title at a pay-per-view when hasn't been pushed in a long time. So that's pretty. Yeah. I mean, that's a big enough, push.
She's trying to be different.
Okay. Sound like Corey. You're sounding a lot like Corey, Brandon. It's scary. It's scaring me when you start saying, I'm going to pick this because I just want to be different, or it's a long shot pick. Kyle, doesn't that sound familiar?
But still not a long shot because I said Rhea's going to keep the title. I don't think Rhea's going to lose the title.
You sound like somebody else I know. Yeah, you sound like somebody else I know. He has a podcast also called That's So Dope. But you sound like him. You're going against the grain just for the sense of going against the grain. Just make it a consensus, Rhea, all the way, Brandon. Don't be different.
I said she's going to keep the title. Wouldn't that be the WWE's thing to do? Is have a disqualification?
Hey, next thing you know, Brandon will start spouting off these theories.
Oh gosh.
Austin.
Then we'll have to make him a shirt too.
Oh gosh. Okay. All right. So we got that one. Let's see. We got Bianca Belair versus Io Sky. Now, I think Bianca Belair wins, but I think there could be some really interesting storylines done in this match if they do it correctly. Will we see some breakup of Damage Control here? It could be that Bayley gets jealous, costs Io the title, and she breaks off on her own, goes back to, babyface Bayley for a little bit. I don't know. I'm going with Bianca Belair. I think there may be some shenanigans involved on this one, though.
I disagree with you a little bit, Brett, because I think one thing we haven't seen really is Io have one of those NXT matches where she can really shine. I think they may just let her. I mean, they may have her lose, clean to Bianca, but in a 4 or 5 star match that we might be looking at the end of the night, going, that was a heck of a match, and elevate Io through her performance as opposed to a storyline. But she can go, but they just haven't given her the 15-minute pay-per-view window to let her go yet.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't hate that. I just feel like that storyline that may just be where they extend it a little bit.
I think Bianca wins, and I agree with Matt. I think it's going to be a heck of a match. I think there's probably two of the best women's athletes you have, and there's going to be some fun spots, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good match. So hopefully the storyline stuff they saved it either after the match or Raw or SmackDown. But hopefully just let this match happen and then let Baylor do her things after if she's going to do it.
I'm taking Io. I'm picking Io to win because they just drafted Bianca over to SmackDown. Instead of doing a lame title swap, why not just have Bianca lose the title, Io take it? Because if I'm correct, aren't in Damage Control on SmackDown? They got drafted to SmackDown?
Yeah.
Okay, so Io's your SmackDown champion. Bianca is chasing now on SmackDown instead of, or your Raw champion. I'm sorry. Io and them got drafted to Raw. So Io becomes your Raw Women's Champion without having to do a title swap.
But what about Rhea then?
Maybe you still got to do this. I'm picking Io. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm picking
Io.
It was a terrible, terrible judgment by me, but that's also because I'm trying to do 50 different things.
Or she wins and they say, hey, we already got a Raw champion, so you got to drop your title, and it goes.
Damage Control's on SmackDown, so we know that. So we can have the winner of this is going to be on SmackDown either way.
Yeah, okay.
Well, maybe that's what I meant. I'm picking Io. It's Io's time. I'm picking Io, and I'm calling her Io Shirai. I'm not calling her Io Sky. She's Io Shirai.
Rage Against the Machine, KO. Rage Against the Machine.
That's right.
Genius of the Shirai.
All right. That leaves, we have 2 left here. Let's go with the next one. Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes. There's no way. I think there's 2 ways they can do this. I'm going with one. They either are just tearing Cody completely down and making him look irrelevant by having him lose again in back-to-back pay-per-views when they pushed him to be the man, or they need to make him look strong to go after this new belt for right now because he's on Raw, which I think that's going to happen. I think he's going to win this match. This is going to be a match that that pushes him toward the big gold world championship.
This is going to be, will we get the apology from Triple H from the booking of Cody and not winning the title and kind of give us a solid of giving him the win? But Cody is one of those wrestlers, I think right now, that he could theoretically take a loss, even though it would be one of those, why are you doing this? I mean, how many losses has Seth taken in the last year? I mean, he got 3 to Cody, and I think he got 1 to Riddle. I mean, there are quite a few he had to lose to Theory a couple of times. I mean, and Seth looks as good as ever. You could see Seth at the top of the card despite having those losses. So if he is, and Cody is over, I think Cody has definitely made it over with the audience. So for whatever reason, Brock had creative control and they had to win. I mean, I think he could come back from it, but I think as a nod to the fans, you got to put Cody over.
It's gonna be Cody.
It's gotta be Cody.
Yeah. Is Dustin gonna come? Because that was a Dustin voice there. So.
All right, Kyle, what you got?
Cody.
Okay. So clean sweep there for Cody Rhodes. Surprised no one went Brock Lesnar. Honestly, I thought somebody might go with Brock. All right. Well, that leaves the main event, I call it the main event. That's what I suspect will be the main event. If it's worth the interest purposes anyway. We got Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Matt Riddle versus the Usos, Solo Sikoa. I think the main question here is, will the bloodline stay intact after this match? Because this could be, I think a loss here could derail them, and Solo could turn on them and take out what was going to happen the other night. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Sammy, KO, and Riddle get the win, but I think Solo takes out the Usos and turns on them and kind of starts that little feud going. And then we find out about maybe it was Roman that instructed it on a loss, the next SmackDown when he comes back, in 3 or 4 weeks, whenever that is.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just completely set up to be. Yeah, I don't believe Solo as a character. I don't believe Solo as a top guy right now, and I think he's being a little bit too pushed, really, because I don't think he has. I mean, he's got obviously the bloodline, but I don't think he has the skills or the mic skills, to believably beat even Jay or Jimmy. So I appreciate that they're trying to push him. I don't buy it. I don't think a lot of the audience buys it. I don't think anybody's going to pay a ticket to go see Solo anytime soon. I think that you're going to see KO, Sammy, and Riddle win yet again, and I think it will lead to that fracture and breakup. But again, the way that the WWE kind of scripts things, you've been seeing them take a lot of losses. So maybe this is where they get their win back. I mean, we kind of saw that with even Riddle beating Jimmy Uso on Raw this past week. So I think that this might be set up for the bloodline to get their win back, and they could definitely do so in a way where they have Solo beat Riddle and probably no tarnish off of KO and Sammy.
Kyle, you want to go ahead and get yours in? I know he's got the news coming up.
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, let me get mine in real quick. So I'm taking Sammy, KO, and Riddle win. At the end of the match, Solo attacks the Usos. Turn.
Okay, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
And I'm sorry, but I gotta go, guys.
No, you're good. We appreciate
sorry
it.
I wasn't there tonight.
10 o'clock news.
Hey, we'll see you on the review show.
Okay, all right. See y'all.
See ya. Thanks, Kyle, for joining us. And he was doing double duty tonight. I was glad he could make it. All right, Brandon, that leaves you. What say you?
Sammy, Kevin, and Riddle win. I do have to disagree with Matt. Solo just, I don't know, man. There's something about him. They built him as a badass, and it's just he's got that mystique to him. Because you talked about the mic skills. Well, he doesn't need the mic skills. He got drafted with Paul Heyman.
Yeah,
Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman.
I think they're going with. I think you're right, Brandon. I think that he's going to end up sometime along the line. He's going to break off, and Solo will be the new Roman Reigns as far as with Heyman.
Yeah, and how many times lately you've seen Heyman whispering in Solo's ear, and Solo's just expression doesn't change for anything. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't. I mean, he's just locked in all the time. There's just something about him, and I don't know. I think he's a star. I mean, I get part of what Matt's saying, but I just don't agree. I believe everything about Solo. Maybe I'm a sucker.
Could he be the one that eventually turns on Roman and takes the title, and they put him so over, and Roman takes time off, and now he's the new Roman Reigns, and
with Heyman,
with Heyman.
Yeah.
And what do you think, Matt? You liking that?
I just don't. I don't buy it, and hopefully there's more Brandons in the world to be buying this, to where maybe we can get some believability there. But I mean, there's so many people on the roster that if you told me this versus Solo and did this person win, I'd be like, yeah, that Braun could beat Solo. I could see Braun squashing Solo. I mean, he just the Samoan spike as a finisher, I don't like that. I mean, I just think it's kind of a weak finisher. the whole package right now. Obviously, Heyman is the best in the game at what he does, and he can elevate anybody. And you put anybody with Heyman, and you got gold right off the bat. But for me, Solo is just not believable yet. He doesn't even really have any big wins. I mean, his one match against Cody, he lost to Cody, and so I mean, there's no big wins where you just look at and believe it. And who do you think would be able to elevate him? You know, it's Seth. I mean, you know, you look at that, and it's just like,
well, if he beats Roman Reigns, doesn't that elevate him? I mean,
it does,
if he's the one that ends the streak.
I mean, that naturally does, but I just don't see it being very believable.
Well, the only reason I could see it is that I think that this whole time, the only reason he's kept the belt Roman has over the last 6 months. When was it he came in? It was the one across the overseas, wasn't it? When he came, the Usos were banned from the match, and he came in. Ever since then, it's really been Solo that has done a lot of the, you know, basically helping Roman Reigns win matches. The Usos have been there, but it's been Solo that's been the key. So if he's the key to keeping it, he turns and he takes it, because now he doesn't have that person that you know, I guess the enforcer, as he calls him, in his back pocket. I just think that would be a cool storyline. Then maybe Roman takes some time off.
When you put it out like that, it kind of highlights. Roman's been taking time off. I mean, you just laid out this thing, and Roman's had 4 matches.
I'm talking about months and months. Like, he goes away for a while after he gets, and then, you know, Solo kind of, you know, runs his little mini Roman thing, and then Roman comes back and they have a rematch later down the line. Could be intriguing.
But, you know, just counting in my head, you know, he's basically had 4 matches since Clash at the Castle. You know, they had the War Games, and then you had Kevin, Sammy, and Cody, and after the Drew match, and that's our Roman Reigns contribution to professional wrestling since June of 2022.
But he just had the Logan Paul match.
Well, he didn't count that one, did he?
Great point, Brandon. I just kind of
had to throw that in there. I got my Logan Paul ad right here.
Oh, hey, did you change the color of that so you could redo the picture?
Yeah.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. When they re-signed, it was the exact
blue
same
raspberry in a different color.
They just changed the colors.
Yeah.
All right. So as we kind of wrap down here tonight, anybody got any final thoughts? Like, with back.
First of all, thank you for having me. It was an honor to be with you, gentlemen, who talk about the great game of professional wrestling, the great sport, and it was fun to pick your brain and hear your insights on this evening. Yeah, I'm excited about Backlash. I mean, there's very few matches I'm not excited about, and I think, you know, as critical over the last 2 hours since we've been on the WWE, they've really built up these shows, the big shows over the last couple of pay-per-views have been, you know, weren't you excited about Sammy and Roman in, you know, Montreal, and then the Royal Rumble? You know, you're excited about KO and Roman, and I'm excited about several of these matches. I can't wait to see Cody and Brock go. I'm excited about Damian and Bad Bunny, because, you know, Bad Bunny's going to do something crazy, you know, and there's a few matches here I'm really excited about. It's just, will they deliver? Because so many times I have this optimistic view going into a pay-per-view, and then afterward I'm just watching it blankly at the screen, wondering, why did I just waste these 3 hours and getting excited on this? So hopefully they'll deliver. And I think a lot of WrestleMania did deliver. And it's a lot about that storytelling. How will this bloodline storyline progress one more chapter? And that's been, as you mentioned, Bret, the best story we've had. So how are they going to continue to tell that story? Great opportunities, but also they haven't been living up to those opportunities lately.
Yeah, I think Backlash normally is like kind of a throwaway. It's like, it's the pay-per-view to get you back to Money in the Bank. It's like, hey, we got a WrestleMania hangover. We're just going to do the same matches. You know, normally they just do the same matches from WrestleMania.
A rematch. We call it rematch.
Yeah.
Rematch.
So I
Backlash.
like we got some fresh matches, like both women's matches. You got 2 people that have basically never challenged for a title. You know, I like what they're giving us, and I think it'll be a good show. and then Matt. Just it's cool having you on tonight. A different voice and just it's cool to just get different opinions on wrestling and what's going on. And we've been at shows together before on running to Detroit shows, and we've talked wrestling in the past. So it's just this was fun, and we'll hopefully have something good to talk about next week.
Yeah, we should. And thanks, Matt, for joining us. Hopefully, we can rope you in, no pun intended, and have you back on, especially the review show, because we'll have to go over our picks here. We'll have that next week sometime. Hopefully, you can join us there. And again, whenever we have it, you have an open invitation to come back anytime you'd like to join us. We like the more voices, the better. It's funny how you can have 4 of us tonight, and we usually have 4 guys or 4 or 5 of us if they're all here. We can all have different opinions on something, and it's just interesting to hear other people, because I'm usually sitting at the house myself just watching it with my son, which he's 4, and he doesn't know what's going on. He gets up and dances around with the music, but to get to talk back and forth about someone else's opinions is cool, and we enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed coming on with us, Matt. It was a fun show, and now I'm just ready to see what all happens this week. Now I've got, of course, Brandon, you're gonna be busy. I'm sure you're gonna be covering some games this week.
I may actually not even be able to watch it live, depending on what Saturday's still up in the air. So I may be back on the road trying to get here to watch it. So and you never know what Peacock will let me pick up where I need to, or so. I may not get to watch till Sunday morning. So we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be good. I've got, depending on our games, we have a series Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If there's a Saturday game 3, I might be catching a little bit behind as well. So, yeah, we like to also give a shout out to our other station. We got NetSN. I got my nice little hat here. We cover high school sports in East Texas. So, you're also watching here on the Disrespect Sports Network. We've got the Off the Rope show. We've got That So Dope podcast with Corey, Vince, and JD. Should be coming up here in a few weeks. They've been talking about coming out with the show, and then we'll also have the Disrespect Sports show. They'll be debuting soon. So make sure you like and subscribe to our Twitter and our YouTube channels. We got all that scrolling on the bottom here. Again, Matt, thanks for joining us tonight, and also always Brandon, thanks for coming on. For Kyle and Jeremy that aren't here with us, and for Brandon and Matt, I'm Bret. We'll catch you next time right here on Off the Ropes. You're listening to the Disrespect Sports Network. Good night, everyone.